My dad woke me up at 2 a.m. whispering, "Get dressed, don't turn on any lights, we need to leave right now." He never explained why. His hand was shaking against my shoulder. My dad was a retired firefighter who ran into burning buildings for 30 years. I had never seen him shake. I pulled on jeans and a hoodie in the dark while he stood at my window, peeking through a crack in the blinds like he was watching for something. When I reached for the light switch, he grabbed my wrist so hard it hurt. I said no lights. His voice was barely audible. We crept down the hallway past my mom's empty bedroom. She had died 3 years ago, and I noticed he was carrying a duffel bag I had never seen before. He didn't grab his wallet from the kitchen counter. He didn't grab his keys. He just opened the back door and pushed me into the yard. We cut through our neighbor's property and walked 3 blocks to a car parked on a street I didn't recognize, a silver sedan with no plates. My dad had a key to it. He threw the duffel in the trunk and told me to get in. I asked him what was happening at least 4 times during the first hour of driving. He just stared at the road with both hands white-knuckling the wheel. Around 4 a.m., we pulled into a rest stop somewhere in Pennsylvania. He finally looked at me. There are things about my past that I never told you, things that are catching up to me now. I waited for more. He got out of the car and walked to a payphone like it was 1995. I watched him dial a number from memory and speak for less than a minute. When he came back, his face was gray. He drove for another 6 hours without stopping. No music, no conversation, just the hum of the road and the growing pit in my stomach. Around noon, we pulled into a motel outside of Pittsburgh, the kind of place that takes cash and doesn't ask questions. My dad paid for 3 nights and led me to a room that smelled like cigarettes and bleach. He sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out his phone. He showed me a screenshot of a text message. The sender was listed as unknown, and the message said, "We found you. We're coming for what's ours." The boy, too. I read it 3 times before the words made sense. The boy, that was me. I asked my dad what the hell was going on. He closed his eyes and told me to sit down. 25 years ago, before I was born, my dad worked as a federal witness in a racketeering case against a crime family in Philadelphia. He had been a firefighter in a district they controlled, and he saw things. Money drops, bodies being moved, meetings in the basement of a restaurant that officially didn't exist. When the FBI approached him, he agreed to testify in exchange for protection. His testimony put 3 men in prison. One of them died behind bars. The other 2 were released last month. I stared at him like he was a stranger. He had never mentioned any of this, not once in my entire life. He said the marshals told him he was safe after the trial, that the family had bigger problems than revenge. But 2 weeks ago, someone left a photograph under his windshield wiper, a photo of me leaving my high school. That's when he started planning our escape. The next 3 days were a blur of cheap motels and back roads. My dad made calls from payphones and burner phones he bought at gas stations. He spoke in code to people I had never heard of. On the 4th night, he handed me a manila envelope and told me to memorize everything inside. New names, new birthdays, a new social security number. I was supposed to become someone else. I asked if we were going into witness protection again. He shook his head. The marshals can't help us this time. One of them leaked my location. He showed me an email on his phone, a thread between 2 addresses I didn't recognize. One of them was clearly a federal account. The message contained our home address, my school schedule, and a note that said, "Asset confirmed. Ready when you are." My own government had sold us out. On the 5th night, everything went wrong. We were in a motel outside of Cleveland when I heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy boots. More than one person. My dad grabbed me and shoved me into the bathroom. He handed me a key and whispered an address I had never heard before. "There's a safe house. Go through the window. Don't stop running until you get there." I tried to argue, but he pushed me harder. "I love you. Now go." The door burst open before I could respond. I heard shouting. I heard my dad's voice yelling something I couldn't understand. I climbed through the bathroom window and dropped into an alley. I ran until my lungs burned. I ran until I couldn't hear the sirens anymore. The address my dad gave me led to a farmhouse in rural Ohio. An older woman answered the door and pulled me inside without asking my name. She fed me soup and let me sleep for 16 hours. When I woke up, she handed me a phone. There was a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. My dad's voice, recorded hours after I escaped. "They got me, but they don't have you. That's all that matters. There's a box buried behind the old oak tree at Grandma's house. Everything you need is inside. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you better. Live a good life. Be someone they'll never find." The voicemail ended. I listened to it 8 more times before I could breathe again. I dug up the box 3 weeks later. Inside was $200,000 in cash, a passport with a name I had never heard, and a letter explaining that my dad had been preparing for this moment since before I was born. He knew they would come eventually. He just wanted to give me a head start. The men who took him were arrested in a federal sting 6 months later, including the marshal who leaked our location. My dad testified again, this time from a hospital bed. He's in witness protection now, somewhere I'll never know. I haven't seen him since that night in Cleveland, but every year on my birthday, I get a postcard with no return address, just 2 words, "Still running."